The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
And welcome once again to Wrestling Unwrapped here on the W2M Network. I am your host. My name is Patrick Kessa, the recently paroled Patrick Kessa. Don't ask. And joining me, as always, Mr. Harry Broadhurst.
Would that make your favorite show Prison Break?
Something like that.
I feel like this would be the point where Sean would hit the Hard Times song, Boss Man's old theme song, but we're covering a more modern show. Unfortunately, by this point, Ray Traylor was no longer with us. Speaking of which, rest in peace to the American Dream 2 years today.
I was going to say, did you bring up Hard Times purposely?
Because you will. No, his theme song was called Hard Time, not Hard Times.
Oh, okay.
But it tied in, so rest in peace, if you will.
Unfortunately, we are not covering a Dusty Rhodes ECW pay-per-view tonight. However, we are covering an ECW pay-per-view. That being the soon-to-be 12th anniversary of ECW One Night Stand. ECW got a chance to get the gang back together for one night only at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. Why? Because they had a DVD that sold really, really well. Like, psychotically well. Like, it's one of the best-selling DVDs in WWE history. The rise and fall of ECW. So they decided, hey, sure, why the hell not? We'll give you a pay-per-view. Thank God. Apparently, Rise and Fall of WCW didn't sell well, or they just hated Eric Bischoff enough.
With all due respect, there aren't a whole lot of people from the old WCW that I would be bringing back for a pay-per-view either. Just saying.
Because most of the ones that you would bring back are already on WWE?
Or can no longer work.
That doesn't stop Hulk Hogan.
And he hasn't wrestled in like a decade. Let's give him some credit.
Fair enough. Well, wait. When was the Bound for Glory match?
Okay, so like half a decade. We're getting off track already.
Talking about Hulk Hogan, what else is new? So, yes, indeed. Tomorrow, I believe, marks the 12th anniversary of the first ECW One Night Stand. In this case, being evented, technically, by the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer versus the Dudleys. Technically. Not those Dudleys.
Technically, that Dudley. They were in the tie-dye.
Yes, and, well, they did come out to Power Man 5000.
That's true.
Anyway. But you also have one giant-ass elephant in the room because somebody can't keep their mouth shut and got into a lot of trouble on this night because for some reason, the DVD version of this, in I believe the first and only time that this has ever happened,
gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, you kind of understand why if you actually listen to it. Features alternate commentary with a live mic. John Bradshaw Layfield. Gee, were you trying to put the focus on the WWE even though it was an ECW pay-per-view, guys? Can't tell.
I'm on general principle.
We'll end up talking more about that later on as we go through. But before we get to that, we should probably actually get this out of the way first. As always, we are a presentation of the W2M Network. For more information, including our written reviews, which we're slowly getting back into, but we're getting back into, along with all of our past episodes, at least at the start of the year, are there, including previews from not only New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion, I won't spoil it, but I found it funny. And eventually a preview for Money in the Bank, which comes next weekend. Check out W2Mnet.com. W2Mnet.com.
I'm waiting for like the NBC The More You Know sound effect here.
Not what I was going for, but okay.
In addition, we are sponsored by the Madhouse Toy Chest. Stores.ebay.com/Madhouse Toy Chest. If you are a fan of anything wrestling, including this very particular DVD, of which he sold 2 copies during the course of this week.
We move the needle, damn it. We move the needle.
Action figures, VHS tapes, magazines, posters, and more. You can find them inside of the Madhouse Toy Chest. That is stores.ebay.com/Madhouse Toy Chest. We're doing the pay-per-view next week, so technically speaking, there's nothing to plug, but I'll have new material to plug for the Toy Chest in 2 weeks.
No, you'll have it sooner than 2 weeks because what we're going to plug will be in 2 weeks.
Whatever. I'll have the plug for the stuff for the show. I'll have the plug for the stuff that we're covering next week during the pay-per-view.
Hey, you said it, not me.
Can we get to the damn review, please?
Yes, we can. So, as always, before we go into the formal review, because there's a lot to get to tonight, here's Harry with the results from ECW One Night Stand 2005.
January. Okay.
What?
I know. I had a moment. I was born blonde. I'm just going to leave it at that. June 12th, 2005, to be specific. As Patrick mentioned, we are in the Hammerstein Ballroom. And news to me, I found this out through Mr. Ketza, apparently the Hammerstein Ballroom used to be the Manhattan Center.
Not used to be. You still got it wrong, and I even told you this. They're the same building.
But the setup looks completely, anyways. Actually, no, it really doesn't, now that I think about it. Because I remember the scene with who was it? Randy Savage chasing, or not Randy Savage, freaking Kamala chasing somebody through the balcony, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Kimchi, maybe? Anyway, bad Raw 1993 flashbacks. All right, moving on. Reviews coming soon for Raw 1993. We'll let you guys know more details on that as it becomes available. All right. As I mentioned, the Hammerstein Ballroom, June 12th, 2005. This is Extreme Championship Wrestling presents One Night Stand. Kind of. Sorry, I got to get that cough checked out. 2005. All right. Our opening contest, as I get a bad case of the hiccups, Lance Storm pins Lionheart Chris Jericho at 7 minutes and 23 seconds with help from Just Incredible Singapore Kane. Candlestick? Singapore Kane?
It's ECW, so I'd say Singapore Kane.
Super Crazy wins the International Three-Way at 6 minutes and 13 seconds, pinning Yoshihiro Tajiri. Tajiri pins Little Guido. Tajiri pins Little Guido at 4 minutes and 9 seconds to eliminate him from the match after a super-duper whippersnapper courtesy of Mikey Whipwreck. Rey Mysterio Jr. on this one.
Oh, sorry, fourth habit.
Pins Psychosis. Oh, say can't. With the non-cradled version of the West Coast Pop at 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Sabu pins Rhino at 6:30 with an Arabian Skull Crusher, kind of, ish, sorta, through a table. The chair makes no contact.
That's about it.
Yeah, Sabu's ass breaks the table, let's be honest. In our Holy Disappointment Batman match of the night, rest in peace, Adam West, Eddie Eddie Guerrero at 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Mike Awesome pins Masato Tanaka at 9 minutes and 51 seconds with a slingshot awesome splash, pins him on the floor. After a super awesome bomb over the top rope through a table.
Ow.
Part 2. And your main event sees the damn Dudleys. I want to state for the record, I am not making fun of those with speech impediments. That's how Bubba always used to sound. Defeat the team of the Sandman with edited to all hell and back intro on the network version. And Tommy Dreamer with generic Alice in Chains theme song on the network version. At 10 minutes and 15 seconds, when Bubba Ray pins Dreamer after a powerbomb through a flaming table and then remembers that's the finish.
Oh, trust me. We'll talk about that. The music
also
part, not the powerbomb.
There's also a correct ton of other shenanigans to get to. So there are your results, Patrick. Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this bad boy.
You make it sound like it's such a calm, normal show.
Wait, what now?
You make it sound like it's such a calm and normal show.
I said shenanigans afoot.
I know, but I'm just saying, just hearing the results, it sounds like a nice, calm, normal show.
Yeah, well, the ECW. Okay, I'm done muting now. Let's get to the show, shall we?
Yes, let's. Since we are still talking, right?
That's your cue, Mr. Host.
Okay, I just want to make sure, due to something I just received. Anyway, so yes, ECW had a DVD. That DVD sold really well. ECW decided, hey, why don't we put together a show? WWE didn't like it.
But technically, Rob Van Dam decided, why don't we put together a reunion show?
Representing ECW. Shut up. Members of Raw and Smackdown didn't like that and threatened to take Crash. Will they get in? My gut says possibly.
Will they be successful?
Huh?
Will they be successful? My gut says no.
This is ECW One Night Stand. And yes, kicking things off is Lance Storm, accompanied to the ring by a pregnant Dawn Marie.
Can we not go right into the opening match? Because I feel there's something that, obviously I don't discuss promos or interviews or anything like that when I do my results here, but there's something that led into this opening match that I feel the need to discuss.
Okay.
I want to talk about Joey Styles.
And the fact that he was fake crying at the beginning?
He was what?
Fake crying?
He was not fake crying.
Yes, he was, and you cannot even attempt to tell me any different. He was trying to make himself cry.
He was not. He was choked up. He was not crying. Jesus, we're 5 minutes into this review, and you're already cynical.
Oh. That comes much later. That comes much later. I am not cynical yet. Trust me.
Anyway. Styles doesn't say a whole lot. He just introduces the fact that Mick Foley will be his broadcast colleague for the evening. But I feel Joey sets a nice tone for the emotion that the evening is going to have.
In front of, real quick, an absolutely rabid, jam-packed, sold-out Hammerstein Ballroom. And from what I heard, the tickets to this were not cheap.
Yeah, I think ringside started at like WrestleMania prices.
The number that I've heard through, like, just over the years was the average ticket price was in the ballpark of like $193.
Yeah, that's average. Imagine what those front seats were. Those had to have been about $1,000, $1.5 each, and this is in 2005 currency. All right, opening contest.
Real quick, that's an almost $500,000 gate.
Not a surprise. All right.
So, all right. Moving on, though. Yes, it is Lance Storm with Dawn Marie in his corner, pregnant at the time, facing Chris Jericho.
Fired a couple days afterwards.
True. Facing off again, same old Chris Jericho. That was your cue, Deep.
I already announced that he was Lionheart Chris Jericho, even if he did have the WWE theme song.
Did you really think they were going to... Well, actually, the question is, what was Chris Jericho's theme song in ECW? He wasn't there very long.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember. My guess would be Even Flow by Pearl Jam, since he used a knockoff version of it in WCW.
Possible.
I'll look this up while you continue your match thoughts.
Okay, fair enough. I thought this was actually a great way to kick off the show, and surprisingly, the crowd actually doesn't crap on the fact that Jericho's using his WWE theme, but at the same time, I think they were welcoming of the fact that he was actually embracing Lionheart Chris Jericho, and at least that aspect of it.
My question is when you watch this, how did you watch it? Did you watch it on the network? Did you watch it on the DVD?
Well, the network and the DVD are the same version.
All right. Well, the live pay-per-view version, they do boo the fact that Break the Walls Down hits for Jericho.
I'll say this. They're a lot nicer to Jericho than they are to other people later on.
That is very true. That I will agree with.
Jericho kind of got off easy, but at the same time, this is the opener, so the crowd is probably a bit forgiving. Would you agree?
Yes. Of all the WWE themes that were used, they were the most forgiving of this one.
Yeah. I thought that they actually had a very fast match. They had one of the longest matches of the entire night. And you could tell that the two of them worked well together because obviously they started together all the way, way back when, even before they were the thrill seekers that spoke up. They had their first match with each other.
Which is actually on Breaking the Code, if you did not know.
I did not know.
It is on Chris Jericho DVD, Breaking the Code, Behind the Walls of Chris Jericho.
Interesting. Very good. The one big move that's probably the most outstanding of them is, I believe it's Jericho jumps up to the top rope and is going for a backwards elbow, and Lance Storm just straight drop kicks him in the back of the head. Or did I have those two guys reversed?
The dropkick thrower on the back elbow was Jericho.
Jericho performed the dropkick. Okay, so I did have them reversed. Oops.
Yes.
Sorry.
Happens.
Yeah. They're so alike. The only difference is Lance Storm doesn't have his dyed blonde rat tail at this point.
No, Lance Storm looks like an actual human being at this point.
He looks like a tube of toothpaste. Crest, specifically.
He's so vanilla. Jericho's ECW theme song was Soul Crusher by White Zombie.
Oh, okay. Shenanigans end up being afoot, though, as the other half, the, not as good half of the Impact players, Just Incredible, ends up interfering, as does the sexiest man in the world, Jason Knight.
And Dawn free to an extent. She distracts the referee.
She was already out there, though. I'm talking about later in the match.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Your thoughts on Credible being on the show but not actually working, given that he was one of the Clicks boys?
Was he one of the Clicks boys? That's still never been discussed. Not to mention, this is definitely not a Click show, so who cares?
No, I'm aware of the fact that it's not a Click show, but Credible was one of those guys that was in with Trips and Sean and Hunter and Pac and, well, I said Trips and Hunter, but whatever, you know what I mean. A little bit surprising he didn't have something of a better spot on the show.
Maybe he wasn't physically able to do it.
He worked the Hardcore Homecoming show the day before, which actually may answer my question.
He wasn't physically fit. Because, I mean, you saw what happened with Sabu later on.
You're going to be more specific when we get there, but let's go ahead and continue the conversation about this match.
Yes, that's because you haven't said anything about it.
Well, longtime listeners of the show know that I'm something of a Jericho apologist. I actually thought this was a really well-paced opener. Foley does a really good job of selling their backstory, and then kind of selling disgust that that Storm would stoop to the levels to win that he did in this particular match. But that being said, I think with the fact that the Impact players were who they were in ECW history, I think having them get together on the final what was supposed to be the final ECW show, it made sense.
That's all?
Well, yeah. We haven't talked about the finish yet. We haven't specifically gone into the details of the finish. I was waiting for you to go.
That would be late, very late in the match, obviously. It's right before the finish. Chris Jericho goes for a roll-up after essentially eliminating all three guys in the match. Obviously, he would have touched on the ring. And Lance Storm takes out of it, and Jericho ends up into the ropes, where a leading Justin Credible cracks him in the head with the Singapore cane, and Lance Storm is able to pick up the pieces for the three. Doesn't win via anything else. He picks up the three via Justin Credible's interference.
Well, he rolled him up after the cane shot. That cane shot looked like it landed a little bit lower than the forehead to me. It looked like he caught Jericho in the cheek with that, which had to suck.
Either way, it would have sucked.
Well, there's a trick to kendo sticks, actually, or Singapore canes kendo sticks. The tighter you tighten them, the less they hurt.
That's what I figured.
So I guess it would depend on how said Singapore cane was constructed before said match.
Yes.
All right. We're not going to go into like ratings and stuff like we did for the pay-per-view because that's more of what we do with the typed reviews that we do with these shows. And eventually we'll get to this particular show. But like I said, I think this was a really hot opener, probably one of the better opening matches we covered here on Wrestling Unwrapped. Not a great match, but a very good one.
I would agree.
Jericho himself would be gone from the WWE a couple of months later, and if I'm not mistaken, this was Storm's last hurrah in the WWE before he showed up in Ring of Honor in 2006.
Yes, while Chris Jericho goes on to become Eric Bischoff's sniveling bitch.
Going into SummerSlam and then gets fired the night afterwards to focus on Default. And I don't mean bear. Waka waka.
Anyway, our next contest is an international...
Scheduled for one fall.
No, it's not.
Actually, no, let's talk about the in memoriam thing in between.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
Boy, did they miss a lot of people.
Well, I think the problem with that is the style of wrestling that ECW was. it's bound and determined to have a lot of people not survive it. And I don't just mean the in-ring stuff. I mean what was going on behind the scenes in ECW as well. I think they did a good enough job of focusing on the big people in ECW that they've lost, people that would have been on this show had they still been with us, such as the Pitbull Anthony Durante, such as the no gimmicks needed Chris Candido, who would have died 2 months prior.
6 weeks. 2 months max.
Yeah. Late April, early May.
Yeah.
So
there's one questionable person included on there.
Are you going to go with the... I think I know who you're referring to. It was the one right before Alex Rizzo, a.k.a. Big Dick Dudley, right? The Mikey, whatever his name was. I don't remember his last name.
Mike Lazansky?
Yeah. I have no idea who that was.
No, not even him, because he looks like more of an ECW guy than Crash Holly.
Oh, Michael Lockwood. He would have just died right before this show as well.
Even still, he was, from what I heard, he only worked like pre-show matches. He was never really on TV on ECW, so...
Maybe it was the WWE's way of memorializing Holly.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't remember anything on Raw or SmackDown around this time. I mean, granted, I wasn't a regular viewer of the product at this time either, but due to lack of cable.
Question. What version did you watch?
Originally, pay-per-view. In order to catch back up with the show, I watched the network version last night.
Okay, no. I'm talking about how you watched it here, darn. Because it's edited out in there, and that is the fact that during the intro to the video, which is done by the people very well, somebody's caught on a live mic, apparently, cracking open a beer.
Because America.
Because ECW.
Absolutely. Maybe they're pouring some out for those who have fallen.
Sure, we'll go with that. I think it's edited out of the, edited version of it, but I believe on the actual live version, you clearly hear a beer can opening.
Our next contest is scheduled for 2 falls.
2 falls! Wait, I'm not in England, sorry.
You're not at Full Sail. That's not funny.
I would rather be at Progress doing that. Anyway, it's Super Crazy versus Yoshihiro Tajiri, accompanied to the ring by the Sinister Minister and Mike Whipwreck versus...
A.K.A.
James Mitchell?
The team name, sir.
I am drawing a complete and total blank, and I know what it is, too.
The Unholy Alliance.
Thank you. I a complete total blank. I apologize.
It's okay. I got your back here. Okay. Super Crazy, Yoshihiro Tajiri, and... Oh, boy.
And Little Guido, accompanied to the ring by everyone else. Okay, real quick. Big Vito, Tracy Smothers.
Did you just say Big Vito?
No. I said Big Guido.
I thought you said Big Vito. I was going to correct you. Carry on.
No, there are no dresses here.
That we know of, other than Don Maurice to this point.
Orlando Jordan, what? Sorry, you know what? I'm going to stop right there. Big Guido, Tracy Smothers, and was JT Smith there?
Yes, the Italian stallion JT Smith.
Oh, and apparently Tony Mamaluke, although I don't remember ever seeing him. But
Tony was clear as day during the introductions. In fairness, I love me some Tony Mamaluke.
It's true.
And at least it wasn't Tony Marinero, right? Right.
Oh, thank God. And no Disco Inferno.
All right, moving on.
What the hell would you expect here? This was fast, short. You could make the argument made to put over Super Crazy because, if I'm not mistaken, he had just signed with the WWE formally, I believe.
I believe that him and Psychosis were either about to be or were already the Mexicools.
Oh, why do we have to bring that up?
Hey, I just know that I want a Juan Deere as well. I'm just saying.
So racist.
All right, moving on.
But I mean, this then down the right person was eliminated first, that being Little Guido. And but to me, this whole thing was just a feature of Super Crazy, including a balcony dive moonsault onto pretty much everybody.
Or as Joey Styles put it, "Oy Dios mío!"
All right, since we're mentioning Spanish, then you also have to mention the fact that the crowd counted along to Super Crazy doing the 10 punches in the corner in Spanish.
As is ECW tradition, sir.
Oh, that's not a bad part. I just thought that was a really cool piece of continuity.
They knew what was up.
I mean, you're looking at a almost completely pro ECW crowd. Of course, they're going to know what's up in one of their places. And trust me, they'll let you know eventually. Real quick, they'll let you know eventually that it's their house. The episode of ECW on Sci-Fi, the only episode they ever did at the Hammerstein Ballroom. No? Nothing?
I don't specifically remember ECW One Sci-Fi. I don't remember watching as much of it, so I can't make a comment any way or another on the actual televised product that we got there. Give me 1 second. I got to plug my phone in. Go ahead and continue your thoughts on the match.
I'll finish with this. Big Show versus Batista.
Ah, okay. I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, that was at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Anyway, Super Crazy does end up picking up the victory in a very short 6 minutes because they pretty much have to try and smash everybody into a 2-hour, 40-minute pay-per-view because they couldn't get 3 hours for some strange reason. And I mean, this was fast. It was high flying. I really enjoyed it. I wish that it was just one-on-one though.
No, I'm perfectly fine with the ECW three-way dance. I really think that they should have considered less matches on this show, though, because 6 minutes for these three guys is criminally short. When they were routinely doing 10 to 15 on ECW pay-per-views back when those were a thing.
Even still, there's only 7 matches, which is weird for an ECW pay-per-view. That's not a lot. I mean, hell, the pay-per-view that we just covered last week, that was only 6.
The pay-per-view we just covered last week was... Wait, what was the pay-per-view we just covered last week?
Extreme Rules. There were only 6 matches.
Oh, yeah, the WWE version of One Night Stand.
Exactly.
I was trying to think of what DVD we covered last week until I remember there's like a pay-per-view every 14 days now, so we really don't get to cover a lot of original material. All right, back to what I was going to say about this particular match. No, I kind of mentioned the fact that I felt that this was criminally short for these three guys. I do like the fact that they all broke down into shenanigans, although I would have been okay with them doing something more like the last ECW pay-per-view, which, for the record, our written review is coming tomorrow. I spoke to Paul about this and can confirm that the written review for Guilty as Charged will be posted tomorrow, Monday, June 12th, the 12-year anniversary of One Night Stand. And at that particular pay-per-view, there was a 3-team match. It was Mikey and Tajiri, Guido and Tony, Super Crazy and Kid Cash. Kid Cash appears later on in the show. Why not just recreate that match from the last pay-per-view?
Because that match wasn't that good.
That match was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my top 10 all time.
At the same time, I said that I only liked half of what was in that match, too. Happy me. So I get that match, and I'm still not happy.
All right, moving on.
What? I got declined?
I'm saying moving on because there's other stuff to get to.
Yes. Our next contest, Psychosis, also had just signed with the WWE.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I was going to say, okay, yeah, it was a highlights package and then into this match and then Van Damme's promos next. Okay, go ahead, continue.
Van Damme's promo is not next. I think that's after the following match after this one. We'll talk about this next after this one. Anyway, it's Sikoki versus Rey Mysterio. Boo! Crap. Sorry. Force of habit. Although in this case, that's pretty much all he gets. From the fact that he used his WWE team to the fact that he won with his WWE move, both of them, the crowd was a little bit forgiving on him using the West Coast Pop, but it was as a Hurricanrana and not the great old Frankensteiner, as you mentioned.
Well, I was going to agree with you there. I think that they were okay with him using the West Coast Pop because the Springboard Rana was something that he did regularly in ECW. It was the 619 that they were super opposed to, and that would become much more evident a little bit later on in the evening.
Oh, we got to talk about that one. There's a lot that goes wrong with that one. And not even that move. It's the move before it. Anyway, this crowd did not like this match. I did not like this match. This match bored me. There was only one really good thing. Well, okay, two really good things. That would be the West Coast Pop or Hurricanrana and the guillotine leg drop off the top rope onto Rey Mysterio, pulled over the guardrail. Other than that, what the hell was Psychosis doing with headlocks and putting everyone to sleep?
Well, I actually enjoyed Ray's version of the springboard senton into the crowd. I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but let's face it. When you hear Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio, even in 2005, what are you going to go into that match expecting? Probably a lot of fast wrestling, a lot of moves, a lot of lucha moves, and a hell of a lot of flipping and high flying, right? Yes, we had just gotten that kind of with the match before it, but even still, Psychosis just completely changed his game plan, and even Joey Styles mentioned it, on commentary, is that Psychosis just completely changed his repertoire going into this match, and it didn't work.
Well, let's also remember that Psychosis, much like Super Crazy, had either just been signed or was about to be signed by the WWE. It's entirely possible he was doing this kind of a match to show that he could work that WWE style.
Super Crazy didn't have any issues with working an ECW style that could still work in WWE. So, what is Psychosis' excuse?
I'd say Super Crazy's a lot better worker than Psychosis is.
I'll say.
B, I would say that a lot of what made Psychosis stand out in the WCW Cruiserweight division, he couldn't do in the WWE.
Like wear a mask?
Well, that was part of it. The fact that he wore the mask to the ring for this show and then took it off, I think, might have rubbed fans the wrong way as well.
Considering
he was
that
never,
the crowd started chanting, "Put the mask on."
Well, he was never unmasked in ECW. The unmasking happened in Mexico after he left WCW as well.
Yep.
But at the same time, I understand him wanting to respect the tradition of. I understand him wanting to respect the tradition of having the mask off as well in regards to his whole character too. I mean, I get that. Oh.
But yeah, so Rey Mysterio ends up picking up the win. Now, before we get to the next match, we gotta talk about what happened in between. Oh boy. The SmackDown Crusaders, the JBL and Kurt Angle-led SmackDown Crusaders, make an appearance and make their way up to the box. And it's meant to hold all of the WWE Crusaders trying to shut down the ECW pay-per-view. Why they bought a ticket to sit below in the show, I've got no clue. And
they wanted to be in the building legally before they invaded the ring illegally.
They wanted to be in the building legally and have a chance to get maybe not so legally drunk before they bum rush the ring illegally.
Oh, I'm 99.9% sure that JBL was hammered off his ass.
Just walking into the building? Yeah, he admitted that. Because if you have the DVD version of this is not on the network, this was not on the live pay-per-view. If you strictly have the DVD version of this show, you get a version with alternate commentary, and for some strange reason, JBL is live mic'd during the show. So if you watch with his commentary, it starts from when they walk in, and they walk in just after the Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis match. At which point, JBL has a great line right off the bat. Like, literally right off the bat. As he shows Rey Mysterio his ticket, because Rey Mysterio looks like an idiot, surprise, surprise, points his ticket out to him and says, "I got a ticket, you little Mexican." It's a whole night of this. So JBL actually would later admit on the mic that he was already drunk going in there. And you can see throughout the entire night, anytime there's a camera up there, I don't know that you ever see a single time where there is not at least one and possibly at least two beers in the shot. Maybe not necessarily 2 beers for one person, but just 2 beers in every shot. Every camera shot, I should say. Now, my question to you is, what do you think of the idea? We know how this ends up, but what do you think of the idea of having a live mic to somebody for a show like this?
I actually think for a show like this, it works. Because if you want to watch it from like a WWE perspective there, you can always just choose to listen to John Bradshaw Layfield. And for as much grief and as much crap as he's gotten over the last couple of years, and for as much of it as is deserved, the JBL character in its original incarnation was fantastic. I don't know that there's anybody else on the roster that could have pulled that character off.
What, a rich New Yorker from Texas?
Yes, absolutely. More so with his business acuity, his management skills, as well as his overall general lackadaisical racism.
Yeah. Trust me, remember you said that. Because all of that grief that he gets, that is well-deserved, some of that starts later on in this night. Well, it had already started, but it gets turned up a little bit later on this very night.
Oh, I know exactly what you're referring to, and I completely agree with you.
We'll talk about that when we talk about what happens after the main event.
Yes. Let's not bury the lead with this one, because this is a major talking point.
Oh, of course. Anyway, so once the SmackDown guys come out, and I'm sorry for disagreeing with you, you are 100% right, because I just noticed what the next match was. Yes, indeed. Rob Van Dam does actually come. Well, so then Heyman's promo has to be after the Raw guys get there. All right. So Rob Van Dam comes out to cut a promo, basically about the show, and his, I don't want to say displeasure, but his disappointment in the fact that he can't wrestle on it because he had just had knee surgery, I believe, or he had some kind of injury.
He had ACL, MCL, and his meniscus repaired by Dr. Andrews. He says as much in his promo. Did you rewatch the show or not?
I did. I'm just blanking on certain parts. It's very hot in Chicago, and very high heat makes me forget things. Seriously, it does. I forgot my own birthday one time when it was 95 out.
Anyways, specific... Shoot. All right, let me try that again without choking. All right. Specifically, Van Dam, towards the end of November in 2004, it was discovered that Van Dam had to go underneath the knife. Van Dam would miss WrestleMania in 2005, and he would very specifically talk about that particular thing in his promo, saying that it sucked that he missed It sucked that he missed WrestleFriggin-Mania. It sucked that he missed Booker T's wedding. It sucked that he missed the overseas tour. But it really sucked for him that he wasn't medically cleared to compete on this particular One Night Stand pay-per-view because it was his idea.
Real quick, WrestleMania mentioned dead last.
Wait, what now?
WrestleMania was the dead last thing mentioned, I believe. I believe the overseas tour was first, then Booker T's wedding, then WrestleMania, or WrestleFriggin-Mania.
My point remains the same, though.
Oh, I know. Shall we get to what happens after?
Go for it.
Alrighty. At which point, after the relative love fest, Rhino ends up coming out and proceeds to beat the high holy hell out of RVD. At which point, the crowd pretty much knows what's coming and starts changing for Sabu. Sure enough, the lights go out, and in the ring is a somewhat heavily bandaged up Sabu. And this is our next contest. It is Rhino versus Sabu. Sabu is covered in little band-aids.
Do you know why Sabu is covered in little band-aids?
I do. Shall I explain?
By all means, go for it, because I was about to a few days.
All right. So, this was a case where having so many ECW guys for a one-night show like this, most of them were not under contract. But because they were all going to be together, they decided, hey, let's put on yet another show. Shane Douglas had put together Hardcore Homecoming. That was going to be at the ECW Arena. It was the Friday before this. It was exactly 48 hours before this. The main event to that was a redo, somewhat, of The Night the Line Was Crossed, which was a three-way dance of Terry Funk versus Sabu versus Shane Douglas, only this time it was a no-rope barbed wire match.
Why? Because reasons.
Why? Because Shane Douglas. Remember, this is a guy who said he wanted to franchise Ric Flair's ass.
Hashtag David for the Porno.
Anyway. So, because took one hell of a that match, he has a lot of babies in this match. What would happen in this match? Well, you can probably kind of guess what happened. A lot of weapons, a lot of hits by Sabu, which, real quick, surprisingly, considering the fact that you could argue that an entire series on YouTube was created because of him, Sabu does not botch one move in this match.
What's up, Matthew?
I had to get that mention in there. Because he does it. He actually nails everything. For the most part. I'll even give him a pass on the facebuster to end the match. I'll give him a pass on that one. Now,
you will. I won't.
Oh, no. Something else is not getting a pass for me.
Is his name Rhino?
Huh?
Is his name Rhino?
No.
You think Van Dam's fault for putting him that far away?
No. I'm not giving RVD a pass for the crap that he pulled on his surgically repaired knee, including a Van Terminator. Or Van Daminator.
Okay.
Or that bitch. I can't.
Skateboard dropkick.
It's one of them. I think it's the Van Terminator.
Nope. The Van
No,
Terminator
it's Van
springs with coast to coast. Van Daminator's the standing sidekicks. That was the skateboard dropkick, sir.
It had a name too. I know it did.
Van Skatinator?
Oh, shut up. You notice how I'm getting more and more PO'd as this continues? Imagine 2 hours of this listening to JBL. That's pretty much how the night goes.
It's not your own damn fault for listening to JBL. You got no one to blame but yourself.
Anyway.
Moving on, I guess. Yeah, I had no real issues with the match itself. A little short at 6.5 minutes. But I think at this point it was pretty well known that Rhino's contract was not being released. There was a very loud "You Got Fired" chant at him during the course of the contest that made that point abundantly clear. But
He was already gone at this point. He was fired the night after WrestleMania.
well, all the same, he still was there to work this particular show.
Do you know why he was fired?
Yes, because of an incident with his wife in the lobby at the hotel. I'm aware. Yes.
He broke up.
I don't want to get into people's. I don't want to get into people's specifics here. We have other stuff to focus on still.
Oh no.
Let's carry on, shall we?
That's all. Yes.
All right. See, you made me lose my train of thought now.
You got fired, Chan.
Okay. The crowd was probably a little bit more forgiving of this than they would have been at a traditional ECW show because there were a couple of things where there were some hesitations and there were some pauses in between Sabu setting up his move and hitting his move. But as you mentioned, he was a lot cleaner than he traditionally was, which given the state that he was in after this, going into this particular match was impressive, I suppose.
True.
Okay.
So yes, as mentioned, Sabu does pick up the victory after the Arabian. I legitimately almost said Arabian skull-crushing finale.
Arabian skull crusher, kind of, sort of, ass-breaking the tabler.
His ass broke the table, the chair still hit Rhino.
Arabian ass buster, we'll call it. Let's go with that, shall we?
Sure.
Seems legit to me. All right, moving on.
Indeed. So, trying to think, was it at this point?
Heyman's promo was after Tanaka.
What?
Heyman's promo was after Awesome and Tanaka before the main event.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. It's at this point, after this match, the Raw Crusaders show up.
Yes.
Led by Edge and, quite frankly, who the hell else? Oh, Eric Bischoff.
Edge, Bischoff, Tomko, Maven was there, Rob Conway, Snitsky.
Reminder, folks, all of these guys get a payday for this show.
And they get pay-per-view. And they get pay-per-view royalties, too.
Tom Cope, Snitsky, Orlando Jordan, the Bashams, all of them, payday. Supposedly, Rob Van Dam was actually pissed that all of these guys got paydays, resulting in smaller paydays for the ECW guys. But that's never really been confirmed. So, moving on, though, to our next contest. Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. I'll say this, an Eddie Guerrero who looks like he would rather be anywhere else.
Yes, and unfortunately an Eddie Guerrero who himself would not be long for this world.
5 months?
Thereabouts. The 5 months, I think, to the day, November 12th.
Yep, exactly 5 months. Because I believe at this point, no, because we're not, we're not even at SummerSlam yet. So yes, Eddie Guerrero is a heel at this point. The reason I mentioned SummerSlam was because SummerSlam had one of the weirdest matches ever.
Let's not waste that conversation now, because I have a funny feeling we're going to do that. We're going to do that pay-per-view at some point. Move on.
Yeah, no. That's not my point here. I'm just saying, Eddie Guerrero is a heel at this point. But this doesn't look like an Eddie Guerrero that's just being a bad guy. This looks like an Eddie Guerrero that just does not want to be there, or does not want to face Chris Benoit. That's my whole point. Okay?
That I agree with.
And what ends up happening is a match where Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero put on a really bad match.
Okay, to be fair, a bad Guerrero versus Benoit match is pretty much everybody else's really good match.
Oh,
that being said, knowing what both Benoit and Guerrero are capable of, yeah, yikes.
Because this was not good. And you know, it's one of those things where it's, you go back and you look at it and it's like, you think back to just over a year prior when they're both celebrating at the end of WrestleMania 20 after they had both just had, you know, amazing matches. Chris Benoit having one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. And you fast forward not long, 15 months, 14 months to here, and they're just not meshing well, and just the whole match seems kind of awkward, including at one point that Guerrero puts on a headlock on Benoit and just has a chat. And you can see it clear as day. It was like they just didn't care. And just,
I understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, cut me off twice there. All right. I understand why Joey made the statement that Joey made on commentary during the course of this match, that this was a match that Paul Heyman always wanted to put together in ECW, and I understand the desire behind putting that match together in ECW. That being said, they would have way better matches against each other in both WCW as well as in the WWE, and specifically in 2003 in the WWE for the United States title.
The Best of 7 series.
No, not that was Booker. Oh. That was Eddie. That was Benoit and Booker T. No, yeah. It was the U.S. title match on the 2003 first SmackDown pay-per-view, which I do believe was Vengeance. 2003. Because that's the show that had 3 different 4-star matches.
Yeah.
Widely considered to be the best of the original single-brand pay-per-views.
Which you can understand why.
Well, yeah, Benoit Guerrero for the U.S. title, Angle, Brock, Big Show in the main event, Kidman and Mysterio against the world's greatest tag team as well on the undercard. We should do that show at some point. All right, moving on.
So yeah, Chris Benoit ends up picking up the win via submission, via the crippler crossface. And yeah, this match isn't really that good. Now, I can understand them not wanting to, completely, have, a blowout match, but even when it's kind of a I don't want to say special show, but when it's, kind of a one-off show like this, and you're performing in front of a different kind of crowd like this, at least put in some effort.
Yeah, I would argue that this is a probable half-ass by both these guys. And in Guerrero's case, it may have been quarter-assed.
Yeah. So, alrighty. There's nothing in between these two matches, right? You said Heyman's promos after the next match.
I believe there's another highlight video after this particular match. So, yeah, we can move on to Austin and Tanaka.
Alrighty. So essentially our sub-main event, the last normal match of the night.
Normal-ish.
Yeah. Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome. I'm not even going to begin with the match, because let's just get it out of the way now.
Joey Styles' comment on commentary?
Yes. I understand that, yes, Mike Awesome, in some people's minds, screwed over ECW by signing a, I believe, over 7-digit contract with WCW.
It was a high 6-figure contract with a $250,000 signing bonus.
Okay. So, potential with the signing bonus 7-digit contract.
Yes.
Yeah. But some of the things that Joey Styles says on commentary would get any other normal, sane human being fired.
Well, you got to think Joey didn't think he was going to be sticking around anyways at this point, so Styles didn't care.
No, that doesn't give him the right to remark the way he does, especially considering how Mike Awesome passed away.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I completely agree that Styles was in the wrong for what he said. And Styles has made a career out of saying things that he shouldn't and getting fired from places.
Yeah. Looking at you, Evolve and Chikara. But,
well, he didn't get fired for anything he said in Chikara. He was fired by Chikara for what he said at Evolve.
Yes. Oh, well, okay, yeah. So, for those that don't know, well, A, there's the fact that he spent almost the whole match calling Mike Awesome a Judas. But,
which I'd have been fine with.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, I'm not a religious guy, so it wouldn't have offended me. I actually think it's fine given the show with just that. But, very, very early in the match, like 30 seconds into the match, literally, Masato Tanaka ends up on the outside, and Mike Awesome does his dive over the top rope, his suicide dive over the top rope. To which Joey Styles, and I apologize if I offend anybody, but for the context of it, I'm going to just say it verbatim. Suicide dive by Mike Awesome, and it's a shame he didn't succeed in taking his own life. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Awesome would commit suicide 2 years later. So, Mick Foley actually tries his best to reel Joey Styles in, because Joey Styles goes off on a rant about Mike Awesome, to which Mick Foley just kind of, tries to gear him back and says, look, let's at least face facts here. Mike Awesome is a hell of a wrestler, and Styles tries to have none of it. But Joey Styles, good Lord, what the hell is wrong with you? You don't see stuff like that on any live mic, even if you're at a TVMA show, which I believe this was. It's just wrong. It's wrong. I'm done.
There is no justification for what Styles said. I myself have gotten in trouble for things I've said at a commentary table. We've discussed this story before on the show. I don't feel the need to rehash it. Yeah. That being said, I never said anything with that kind of malicious intent. And given the way that Styles would go, or that Awesome would end up leaving this world a couple of years later, as you would say, having been found dead via suicide by hanging, I question if that kind of thing sticks with Styles, It
has to. Moving into the match itself. This was a whole match of holy blank, because they go less than 10 minutes, but they pack as much as they can into that 10 minutes. Dives over the top rope, tables, chairs, JBL pretty much cribbing on everything they do, even on camera without his microphone. Just, they beat the hell out of each other. They beat the ever-living hell out of each other, including Masato Tanaka breaking out Diamond Dust, which shocked the hell out of me, and I forgot he did that. For those that don't know, Diamond Dust is essentially the buff blockbuster neckbreaker, but with the opponent turned 180 degrees. So it's kind of a blockbuster stunner.
It's a front flip stunner in the corner. Don't oversimplify.
It's a blockbuster stunner.
Anyway. So I was kind of torn on this match. I understand the point of them. I understand the point of them having the kind of match that they did, but at the same time, I think I was a little disappointed in it, because instead of going with anything, they went more for shock and awe rather than actually putting together something resembling a cohesive match. If I'm not mistaken, the WWE would actually offer Awesome his job back after this particular match, but Awesome hurt his knee during the course of this match. You can see him limping out at the end of it and would not sign the contract.
You know what the funny part is that we will actually review the comparison to this match that we can have, because later on in the year, August specifically, at some point, we're going to review Heatwave 98, which also features Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome. So there's a plug for 3 shows we're doing in August, even though we only put the focus on 1. Because we're going to do all of August 98. Anywho. So, yes, as we mentioned during the results, Mike Awesome does end up picking up the win after hitting a super awesome bomb from the ring through a table on the floor, and then diving over the top rope again onto a thrown Tanaka, who's still laying on the floor, which, if you actually watch this, you never see Awesome actually hit the dive, because the camera stays on Tanaka. And you can't see his facial expression just completely go, oh crap, as Awesome is about to hit the dive for the 3, picking up the victory.
Like or dislike this match finishing on the floor?
Considering the match, I'm okay with it. I think it would have taken away a little bit of having to wait those couple extra seconds for Austin to get back, or for Austin to get Tanaka back into the ring. I think it would have pulled it down a little bit. But in this case, powerbomb through the table, dive through the table, 1, 2, 3. Holy crap, what a finish. I think he kind of ends up turning that down a little bit if you still have to wait, even if it's only 5 seconds for Austin to get Tanaka in. But I think even that little bit of time still kind of takes away from it a little bit. So I'm okay with it ending up.
All right, fair enough. I just figured I'd ask. I'm okay with it as well, given the course of the match. Not to mention, ECW was kind of known for having matches where falls could happen anywhere, so having a match where that was an option was perfectly okay with me, I guess.
Wait. So you mean to tell me that a Falls Count Anywhere match can end somewhere other than great?
Shocker, I know.
Wow. Yes, we're making fun of WWE, folks. Leave us alone. It's true, though.
ECW. All right, sorry. I'm good. I'm back.
Okay. So, Austin picks up the victory. Now comes one of the last non-matches that we do have to talk about. The boss himself, Paul Heyman, comes out to cut a promo in signature Paul Heyman look. Giant friggin' duster jacket, maybe a little less hair, but a baseball hat, headphones around it, or headset around his neck. Looks like Paul E. Danger. Well, okay, no, looks like Paul E. Dangerously. The only thing he's missing is the giant-ass cell phone.
No, he looks like Paul Heyman rather than Paul E. Dangerously.
Okay. You get what I mean, though. Nice to see that he still owns the duster.
Can we just call it a leather jacket and be done with it?
No, it's a duster.
The frick is the difference?
It's its proper name. It's a duster. Anyway, Paul Heyman then proceeds to cut a promo. Well, he kind of cuts 2 promos. First promo was to thank the fans for being there and thanking the fans for giving him the opportunity to book for you crazy. I believe he said crazy bastards.
He did say crazy bastards.
Yes. And you know, it's a very emotional and very sentimental promo towards the fans because, let's be honest, ECW, you know, if they don't have, you know, they never had the fan section that WWE or WCW did. But they had the most passionate, most loyal fans. So, you know, that goes, I think, without saying. It's a very, very nice promo. And then Paul Heyman kind of hesitates and says that he thought about stopping there and taking the high road, which Mick Foley says, no, don't take the high road, Paul. But I've got something to say to you. And obviously he's talking to the Crusaders. Where do we start with this one? He had something to say to Eric Bischoff, which says, if you notice, it's not Paul Heyman with his tail between his legs at a WCW event. You're in our house. To which Bischoff flips him off.
Okay, stop. You're in our house, bitch.
We've sworn a lot. I was hoping to avoid that one.
Nope. Context of the show.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. Edge was next and then JBL, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. Hide your wives, it's Edge. The only time Heyman sounds stupid in his entire promo, and let's be honest, it's a stupid thing.
Heyman 2 words?
Huh?
Are you referring to the 2 words comment here?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of dumb.
Yeah. So because no one else has the guts to say it, but Paul has 2 words for you. Matt freaking Hardy. Whoopsie.
You know what? I think that was done on purpose so Edge could throw up the V1 now. You did catch that, right?
He threw up the 3 originally and then threw up the V1.
Yeah, it was on purpose. He intentionally threw up 3 and then did the V1 hand symbol. Matt Hardy would return to Raw, I do believe, would have returned to Raw the week before this pay-per-view.
By the way, real quick, what's with the crowd chanting "You screwed Matt" towards Edge? Lito was the one who did that. Both
he screwed Matt over. He screwed Matt over by shaboinking his girlfriend.
Fair enough. And then comes the JBL, which, if you see JBL, to be fair, one time that I actually found JBL funny. JBL is phantom writing checks like air guitar. He's air writing checks, throwing them down, and then watching them bounce up. All it makes that kind of chuckle out of me. Paul Heyman then finishes his promo. Well, okay, he finishes this part of the promo by saying that the only reason JBL was champion for a year was because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. He's probably not wrong. So, there's that part. He's probably not wrong on that. To which JBL has no comeback for and instead feigns a heart attack, which to me just says, I've got nothing for this.
Elizabeth, which I thought was funny.
Is that his wife?
No, Elizabeth's like Sanford and Son.
Oh, okay. I knew that.
Really?
No. Not what you're thinking. I knew that it was a Sanford and Son parody. I didn't realize that it actually was Elizabeth. I was thinking he was saying it like Elizabeth was his wife. That part wasn't clicking, but I knew it was a Sanford and Son reference. Shut up.
All right, just making sure.
Okay. Paul Heyman finishes it with, this ain't WCW, this ain't Monday Night Raw, this ain't SmackDown, this ain't even the WWE, this is ECW. Alrighty. Close kisses, and, that's 2 words for the Crusaders, but we won't get into that part. It is now time for our main event. And our main event is those damn Dudleys.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Taking on Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman. Once again, the Dudleys coming up to Power Man 5000, which I believe... I'm trying to think, because they didn't use Power Man 5000 for any of their WWE themes.
It wasn't their ECW theme song, if that's what you're asking. I want to say that it was a theme song that the WWE had created for the Dudleys and then never used.
Maybe. So they get a pass on that one. Tommy Dreamer comes out to, all right, a bad ripoff, but not the worst ripoff of Man in the Box.
Alice in Chains, you're correct.
Okay, good. It was a bad ripoff of Man in the Box. However, TNA's was worse. You don't remember that one, do you?
Wait, what now?
I said, while WWE's Man in the Box version was bad, TNA's was worse.
Yes, I do remember TNA's version of it, and I actually didn't think it was that terrible.
Dreamer.
Can we not fall off track this close to the finish.
I know. However, the one that does bear mentioning, WWE, if there was ever a time for you to pay for the rights to a song, it's this right here. As the Sandman comes out, on the live pay-per-view, to enter Sandman, on any edited version, a bad cover of it, that is actually so bad that you can still hear the real song in the background because the crowd is so loud.
The crowd is not only loud, the crowd is singing the song.
But you can't hear that on the edited version. But it's just weird. You can still hear the drums.
Confession, Mr. Ketsa.
What?
I fast-forwarded Sandman's entrance on the rewatch.
Ooh.
And then pulled it up on Daily Motion and watched the original pay-per-view feed.
Well, of course. Because that's the only way that you can really watch this entrance that does it any justice. Because, holy cow, the actual live entrance to this is amazing. To me, it's one of my favorite entrances ever. The crowd not just sings the chorus, but they sing everything. They sing the chorus, they sing the verses, they sing Enter Sandman as Sandman's coming out, including one guy who tried to pretty much brain himself with Sandman's Singapore cane.
Say your prayers, little one. Don't forget my son.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to sing any more of it and get us sued by Metallica.
We're not Napster.
That's funny.
Anyway.
Not entirely topical, but funny.
Still true. Anyway. Yeah, the entrance to this, to me, if you can find the real one, is worth the entire show itself.
Again, Daily Motion, people. Google search it. Put it into your Google machine as, hey, as Conrad would say.
No, don't put it in your Google machine because YouTube will show up, and quite frankly, at this point, YouTube can get hacked.
No, put it in your Google machine and specifically mention Daily Motion.
Throw it in your Bing machine. You know what? Oh, yeah. Throw it in your Bing machine. Anyway. The bell rings. No, it doesn't. Everyone's in the ring. They uphold the code of honor, and all of a sudden, out comes the BWO.
Wait, stop. Did you really just make a code of honor reference?
Come on, they're all friends. They fist bump instead of shake hands. Not to mention Ring of Honor runs at the Hammerstein Ballroom, too, so, yeah.
But a damn code of honor reference? Come on, man. We're better than that.
Are they?
Okay.
Are they really?
No, we are. I mean, at least I thought we were.
Anyway.
And then, right as the match is about to start, music hits, which triggers the best Joey Styles reaction of the night.
Where he can't stop laughing?
Yes. If ever a gimmick deserved to not draw a dime and ended up making a buttload of money.
As out comes the Blue World Order. Big Stevie Cool, Hollywood Nova, and the Blue Guy.
Say hello to the Blue Guy.
Unfortunately, there was no chicken bone here.
Or 7-Eleven. Okay, bad reference. Never mind. Moving on.
Yeah, no, I was going to go just with the chicken bone toothpick. Anyway, Stevie says that the Blue World Order and we're taking over, to which they then proceed to try and beat the hell out of Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman, to which out come the hardcore chair-swinging freaks.
Nope, mixed someone already.
Who?
The first save attempt was by the notorious Mr. TNA, Kid Cash.
No, he came out after the Hardcore Chair Swinging Freaks.
No, he was before.
I could have sworn he was there. All right, fine. So, Mr. TNA, no, not that one. Kid Cash comes out.
Total non-stop attitude.
Gee, because that's topical.
He would have just left TNA to return to come to this show and would end up getting a job out of it.
Why?
So, yeah, very topical, because Kid Cash is freaking awesome.
Never been big on him.
Agree to disagree here. Cash was one of my favorites in ECW.
Anywho. Really? Not Chili Willy? Anyway.
You leave the hometown homeboy alone, sir.
All right. And after that, then the Hardcore Chair Swinging Freaks come out. For those that don't know, it's Axel Rotten and Paul Mahoney.
Both of them now deceased, unfortunately. Rest in peace, gentlemen. By the way, I'm being told that you can't say Balls Mahoney.
But Balls Mahoney is his name. How can I not say Balls Mahoney? That's Balls Mahoney's name.
I don't think we're allowed to say Balls Mahoney.
All
right, we've run that joke into the ground. Let's move on.
So Axel Rotten and Mahoney proceed to help clean out of the bad guys, aside from Kid Cash getting one more move in before everyone that's not in the match clears out, in the fact that everyone kind of piles into one big group in the entranceway, and Kid Cash uses referee Jim Molyneux as a kind of a springboard to pull off his own triple jump there. So from the ground to Jim Molyneux to the roof to the floor. At least he landed on everybody this time.
He hit the Dudleys, too. They were on the floor as well. I don't know that Sandman and Dreamer were on the floor. I know the Dudleys were.
Who knows? So, by the way, real quick, Dudley's theme to the actual bell. Take a guess. How long?
Dudley's theme to the bell?
Yes.
About 25.
15.
Really? Seems longer.
Yeah, no, not 15. So, this is pretty much a typical ECW main event. To the point, I think the cheese grater was pulled out less than 2 minutes in.
To be fair, the match only went about 10 minutes.
Yes, but still. All of them end up in an absolute bloody mess, especially Tommy Dreamer.
Okay, let's be fair here. Bubba Ray's blood was not his own.
I know, but he was still a bloody mess. That's the problem.
All right, that's fair.
It was just happened to be that it was Tommy Dreamer's blood that he was messed with.
Which would never fly in current-day WWE.
Oh, gosh, no, absolutely not. So things are going swimmingly until the Impact players run out yet again to beat the hell out of Sandman and Tommy Dreamer. I'm trying to remember the sequence of events here, including...
Okay, the sequence... I'm taking over here. The sequence of events was a cane shot to Dreamer, a shot to Sandman. That's incredible on a barbed wire spear. Francine came in and kicked Dreamer in the junk. Beulah came out. Cat fight. Impact players pulled her off. Storm accidentally came. Credible. Beulah and Dreamer lay out the Dudleys with DDTs for 2, and then we go into the finish.
Hang on.
Did I miss something?
The DDTs. You got to mention the DDTs.
Oh, you mean the fact that Beulah hits a good 2 seconds before Bubba does?
No, other way. Bubba goes down to first, and Beulah is about 2 seconds late.
All right, to be fair, this is Beulah's first time in a wrestling ring in probably 6 to 7 years. I'm willing to give Beulah a pass.
I would say, well, yeah, okay, 7 years, yeah, because before Heatwave 98, as a matter of fact.
Which we will be covering soon.
Yes, August, along with all of the other August 98 pay-per-views.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do this stuff so you don't have to.
Okay, nostalgia critic. Anyway.
I have no idea what that means.
Just say okay.
Moving on.
In the end, I'm sorry. Who pulls out the table? Who actually pulls out the table? Tommy?
Bubba.
Okay, so in the end, the Dudleys pull out a table, to which we get one more run-in from LSD, Metal Spike Dudley. And what the
you're missing a table spot. Sandman eats table first and then Tommy's.
I was kind of just skipping over that. I don't want to go over every damn detail in this match. I just want to get to the flaming table.
All right, well then little Spike Dudley does his running. Go ahead, pick back up.
To which he brings out a hell of a lot of lighter fluid and a lighter. Real quick. I was expecting it to look like the scene from The Simpsons. Holy crap, this Bubba Ray put on a massive amount of energy on the table. I understand that it worked out quickly, but holy crap, he had to put at least half that bottle on that table.
Well, that's not counting how much Devon put of that other bottle on that table, too.
Yeah. Like I said,
there is at least a full bottle's worth of lighter fluid on that table.
Because that's an absurd amount. Like I said, for those that have never seen, look when Homer tries to light up his grill, and he literally puts an entire bottle of lighter fluid into the grill. And it just goes... I expected that here. Luckily, it doesn't, and it actually burns very well, to which we get the Dudley Boys powerbombing Tommy Dreamer through a table, flaming table, obviously, for the 3, 1, 2, 3. The are the winners.
Can I point out the fact that Bubba forgot that was the finish for like 10 seconds?
I don't know that I'd go that long. I think he was just letting Tommy kind of, sell it, because he sold it like Terry Funk does, convulsing. So maybe he actually was giving Tommy a chance.
All right, I didn't look at it that way. I guess that's a fair assessment to make.
Ha! So the Dudley Boys pick up the victory, thereby ending our main event. Boy, Sandman
not our
here, though. Huh?
Thereby ending our main event, but not our show.
Absolutely not. So, Sandman acts like he's trying to take care of Tommy Dreamer and pretty much just asks for a beer, to which everyone was like, you drunk. However, that actually makes for a very good segue. Why? Because how come someone who wasn't in ECW long, but was in it long enough to gain some recognition, he would then become the biggest superstar of all time, and out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin in a Las Vegas Outlaws jersey.
He of the Monday Night War promos in ECW. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and not comment on that XFL jersey that he was wearing because, as Joey said, I'm not going to comment on that jersey because Austin is my friend and frankly he could kick my ass. Austin may not be my friend, but he could kick my ass. Austin can wear whatever he wants to.
Oh, absolutely not saying anything about that. I thought it funny, but I'm not going to complain to him about it at all. So,
if I'm not mistaken, this is Austin's first appearance in the WWE since the Brock Lesnar-Goldberg debacle as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was true.
Oh, no, it's not. He was at WrestleMania 21. He did the Gladiator bit for WrestleMania Goes Hollywood. Never mind.
Oh, that means he did Piper's Pit.
I will correct myself here and say that I am wrong. My bad.
Wow, that's a shock.
Bite me and move on.
So, Austin actually invites the entire locker room out to have a beer dash, which is true. Sandman, yet again, is still just actually asking for beer.
Yeah, I think Sandman was... I don't think he swallowed enough of it, the beer, during his entrance. He spit most of it out, so he actually wants some post-match refreshment.
Yes. At which point, Stone Cold then just challenges the Crusaders on behalf of ECW and says, you came here to whip their ass, why not just come down here and whip their ass? And one by one, they all actually come down, and the line was drawn in the middle, and I thought the separation was actually really cool. I believe Kurt Angle was taking turn to lead the charge, and we get one final appearance before the brawl actually begins. And that would be the human suplex machine, just 40 pounds heavier.
And minus 1Z.
Well, he was 1Z in ECW, so I'm okay with that.
He was 1Z heavier than he was in ECW, though, that's for sure. I will say that the knockoff version of War Machine by Kids that they got for Taz's entrance is pretty good.
True. We should also mention that at this point, Eric Bischoff has actually joined the commentary table. I didn't mind that. Sure, it was 5 minutes maybe, but I didn't mind that part, honestly. You know, because he took up his side.
I feel like Bischoff's sitting there shit-talking crap. Crap-talking ECW the entire night. I feel like him sitting there crap-talking ECW the entire night would have been kind of entertaining to hear him and Joey bickering back and forth.
Sure, just what this DVD needs. A second alternate commentary.
No, I mean Bischoff doing commentary instead of Foley.
Oh, okay.
Because you gotta remember, Styles' original. Well, towards the end of ECW, his broadcast colleague for those shows was an antagonist by the name of Don Callis, a.k.a. Cyrus the Virus.
Yes, and we'll actually talk about him in our written review that'll be out tomorrow for ECW Guilty as Charged 2001, only on W2Mnet.com.
So, speaking of shit, okay, there's an Eddie Kingston segue there, but I'm not going to make it. We'll move on.
Oh, and I had the thumbs up, too.
Yeah. Bang, bang.
Anyway. All right. So the brawl begins. It bears mentioning once again. Boy, did JBL act like a scumbag here. Because, okay, hang on, wait. It bears mentioning first, at the end of the brawl, you happen to notice that for the most part, everyone's fine. Outside of the Blue Meanie, who is a bloody mess, a bad cut under his eye. Guess why? Because for some reason, JBL was so pissed off at the Blue Meanie that as the brawl began, or as it was getting ready to begin, so let's say as Taz was coming to the ring, JBL had managed to sneak through and actually got behind Blue Meanie. So as the brawl began, he sucker punched Blue Meanie right square in the eye, leaving him a bloody mess. That was the only major injury out of this, thank God. But ECW ends up sending the Crusaders packing, because of course, and Stone Cold has one final request, and that is for Mick Foley to bring Eric Bischoff back to the ring, at which point none of the Crusaders want anything to do with Eric Bischoff, probably because they had just gotten their butts whooped. And Stone Cold Steve Austin then proceeds to send Eric Bischoff through the ringer with a slew of finishers. He gets the 619, he gets the 3D, he gets the diving headbutt from Chris Benoit. Do we even want to mention Austin's mention during Chris Benoit's headbutt?
I think we kind of have to, since it's intact on the network.
It is? I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I was watching the DVD.
It's intact on the network.
When Chris Benoit goes...
Holy awkwardness, Batman.
You thought Joey Styles' commentary on the Mike Awesome match was bad? You also have the awkward moment of Stone Cold Steve Austin pointing up to Benoit, who's climbing the rope, and telling Benoit, kill that son of a bitch. Yep.
The views and opinions of Steve Austin do not necessarily reflect those of the WWE, its partners, or its corporate sponsors, nor do they reflect those of Wrestling Unwrapped.
Yeah.
I think that should cover our ass there.
Here's my question. Which one's worse? Joey Styles' comment about Mike Awesome, or Stone Cold Steve Austin's comment about Chris Benoit?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
True.
I mean, they both, in the grand scheme of things, they both equate to the same thing in the long run.
Yep.
Obviously. And right around the same time frame as well, right around 2007.
Yep. So, moving on. Stone Cold tries to hold a quote-unquote post-show interview with Eric Bischoff. Bischoff says, F ECW. Bischoff gets a stunner, and the Dudleys actually take Eric Bischoff all the way out of the Hammerstein Ballroom, and that's pretty much how we see ourselves out, is one big giant beer bash in the ring with everybody, including the 2,500 others. Which we should also mention, part of this crowd also included C.W. Anderson, Chris Chetty, and Elektra.
Elektra would become relevant for a different moment during the show that I'm guessing probably got both Sandman and Elektra into a lot of trouble.
Do you think Sandman cared? Actually, it should have gotten Tommy Dreamer in trouble, too.
Well, yeah, Dreamer too. Well, Dreamer's wife was at the show, too, so I bet she was pissed, too.
I don't think so. I think they all kind of understood it was an ECW show. For those wondering, during Sandman's entrance, he sprays beer and everything, and at one point, real quick, do you know who the first girl was? Because that wasn't Elektra. Elektra was second. Do you know who the first one was? Because I don't.
Not a clue. I think it might have just been some random ECW chick.
I almost was wondering if it was Sandman's wife, but I don't know if he was still married at the time.
I believe him and Lori would have been long divorced by that point.
Fair point. The second one that he does the exact same thing to was Elektra, and that was during essentially starting a lit t-shirt contest on Elektra's set, and Sandman and Tommy Dreamer looking the beer off. Okay.
Well, far be it for Sandman to waste a perfectly good beer.
Of course. Wow, did I sound out high-pitched? So, we see ourselves out with one hell of a beer bash, and that concludes the first and only first ECW One Night Stand. Obviously, 1 year later, they would do One Night Stand 2. That one would be in conjunction with the start of the ECW television show that would start, I don't know if it was 2 days later or if it was a week and 2 days later after the pay-per-view. May have been 2 days later.
It was just 2 days. It was the following Tuesday.
Okay. So that would be the second one, and then they would just go from there until eventually it became ECW One Night Stand Extreme Rules?
It was the WWE presents One Night Stand Extreme Rules in 2008.
Which that would then become WWE Extreme Rules, which that one continues to this day, as was talked about last Sunday night. If you want to hear that one, go to w2mnet.com or Spreaker.com or any of the other places you can find our podcasts and check out Who React WWE Extreme Rules 2017. Any final thoughts before we go to the big finish? Are you even there? Harry?
Yes.
Are you there?
I reset my phone. I'm back.
Oh, okay. Anyway, any final thoughts before we move on to the big finish?
I think we've broken down this show enough to move on.
True. Big finish time, best and the worst match, and the cash and trash of this show. I have a hunch we're going to agree on a few of these things anyway, if not all four. So, best and worst matches, we always kick things off. Best match of this show to you.
Best match on this show to me, Austin and Tanaka. It wasn't so much a match as it was a showcase, but it was a very good showcase.
Yeah, the entire match was... That to me, was the most like old ECW.
It was basically them playing the hits.
Over Tanaka's head.
Lawson's like, you're going to sell the chair today.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, they beat the hell out of each other in this match. And to me, like I said, this felt most like an old ECW match. Although you could say the main event was also close to old ECW, but that one may have actually had more run-ins than you would normally get in an ECW main event. So, to me, this felt like old ECW, old school. It was just super stiff. They absolutely demolished each other with, chairs. And it's obvious that, this was a one-night-only thing, which is probably why they actually pushed it the way they did. But this was a very risky match. Baker ended up very seriously hurt. Luckily, they didn't. Okay. Outside of Awesome's knee, as we said, he was helped out of the arena. But this to me, was the best match. Alrighty. We may disagree on this one. What is the worst match of the night for you?
Are we talking worst in terms of in-ring action or worst in terms of
match of the night?
I differentiate between worst in terms of in-ring action and worst in terms of expectation. Because if we're talking about in terms of expectations, I think Guerrero and Benoit tremendously under-delivered. If we're talking overall worst match, I'm going to go with Ray Jr. and Psychosis because I feel like they also under-delivered, and the action that we did get between them wasn't up to the level of what we did get from Benoit and Eddie.
Pick one, because I'm going to end up picking the other one because I was having a hard time choosing between them two.
I'll take Eddie and Benoit then for the fact that it was as disappointing as it was, even if it wasn't a bad match.
And actually, because I had the exact same two, but for Christ's sake, pick one. Yeah, Ray and Seth give me something in one phrase. The crowd just was unhappy with them, and then Psychosis just not giving the crowd what the crowd expected. That was not. If he was trying to kind of prove that he could work in the WWE style match, that was not the crowd to try and do that with. And then Ray constantly pulling out the WWE style stuff, his being the 619 and things like that. Nothing about this match was really good, except for the guillotine leg drop to, over the guardrail to the floor. That's it. So just a complete mismatch and just not a good match at all. Alrighty. What is your cash for this?
The ambiance, the atmosphere, and we've talked about this before. The fact that sometimes nostalgia comes at a price, but at other times nostalgia is what makes a show worth watching. This is one of those times where nostalgia is what makes this show worth watching. If you are a fan of the original ECW, by and large, you probably enjoyed this show because it was relatively true to what the original ECW was. If you weren't a fan of the original ECW, then by and large, you probably weren't a fan of this show because it was, as I mentioned, very true to what the original ECW was. So my cash for this particular show is the nostalgia effort.
For me, I'm going to kind of change it up a little bit. For me, it's the fact of, holy cow, was this a success? Because I think even the WWE didn't expect it to be as successful as it was. Like we said,
that's probably fair.
Yeah, it was an almost $500,000 beat on a 2,500-seat ballroom. That's just a psychotic thing to think of. 2,500-seat ballroom, and you do almost $500,000. Not only that, 333,000 pay-per-view buys, which was, I believe, somewhere in the ballpark of as much as like 80,000 more than what the other two pay-per-views that month did. That's psychotic.
It was somewhere in the ballpark of about 100,000 or so less than WrestleMania did. WrestleMania that year did, I think, almost 500,000 buys.
That was 21?
Yes.
Okay. So, but think about that. Only 100,000 less. That's crazy. It was one of the most popular, one of the most bought pay-per-views of the entire year. And essentially forced WWE to look at this and go, hey, maybe there's something here, which would lead to the reboot of the ECW brand. We all know how that would turn out, but we still got the reboot of the ECW brand. Plus, that would include more One Night Stand pay-per-views and eventually its own pay-per-view, which is our very first episode on W2M. Once again, check out W2Mnet.com. For our very first episode, ECW December to Dismember. But by that point, nobody cared about ECW. Just remember that.
Specifically, the people running the WWECW. Oh, that show is
still one of the worst we've reviewed.
Yeah, don't forget to check out the written review on W2Mnet.com as well.
Alrighty. What is your trash for this?
I think I have to go with Styles' rant towards Mike Awesome. And Styles has had a history of his mouth getting him in trouble. It would obviously get progressively better once he got hired full-time with the WWE. He would tone his act down. But that particular comment about wishing Austin had succeeded in taking his own life was something that I genuinely think the WWE probably shouldn't have taken a flyer on him. I have long stated that I have 3 influences in my play-by-play life. Because we talked about it on the show before. I'm a play-by-play announcer by trade. That's what I love to do. My 3 biggest influences when it comes to my play-by-play style are Dave Prazak, Phil Colvin, and Joey Styles. So for Styles to pull off a move that was as, to be frank, unprofessional as this one was, has to be considered something of a colossal disappointment. Patrick, what's your trash for this show?
The fact that it was supposed to be an ECW pay-per-view, but it wasn't treated like one. This, to me, was a WWE pay-per-view with ECW wrestlers. Because the focus was not the ECW guys. It was not the getting the band back together. That was not the focus. That was really never the focus outside of the first 40 minutes of the show. First off, Raw and Smackdown, guys, that whole thing never should have happened. Why couldn't they have just let this go as an ECW show? You didn't need the Raw and Smackdown, guys. You were going to have a guaranteed sellout no matter where, no matter who was on the show. You were probably going to get a lot of buys, which, like we just mentioned, over 330,000. You didn't have to have the focus of the Raw and the SmackDown guys. Sure, maybe that was in Vince's mind adding some star power to it, but you had enough star power in this already. Having RVD on the show, having Rhino somewhat on the show, having Ray on the show. You didn't need the elephant in the room of the Raw and SmackDown guys. Granted, it was nice that the crowd had something to spew their venom towards, spew their hatred and some of their anger, but to me it was still an unnecessary thing, and you did not need the Raw and SmackDown guys there. And I think it took a lot of the focus away from the ECW aspect of the pay-per-view.
I'm going to disagree with you in the fact that I think giving the ECW, let's be honest, the mutants something to actually be upset about was probably a wise decision because it did keep their venom away from the actual ECW competitors. I can understand your point, but I'm going to respectfully disagree with you.
Oh, come on. You wouldn't have liked to see Rey Mysterio get booed even more?
No, that happened enough further down the line.
Remember, number 30, Rey Mysterio. Anyway, all right, before we get out of here, what...
Really? You're going to hit me with that knowing I was at that show?
Number 30, Rey Mysterio.
Moving on.
Before we get out of here, before we wrap everything up, what is your final score for ECW One Night Stand 2005?
A couple of the matches are a little bit disappointing, but it's not necessarily about the in-ring product to me. It's more about the culture of what ECW was. It's more about the nostalgia of what the brand represented. You claim disappointment over the fact of the Invasion storyline. I disagree. I think it added a needed element of giving a semblance of a good guy, bad guy line that ECW really never seemed to have. There were always shades of gray in ECW. This gave the ECW mutants something to dislike. This gave the fan base something that they could sink their teeth into and turn their venom towards. I was perfectly okay with it. Overall, top to bottom, I give the show an 8.5.
Did you say 8.5?
I did say 8.5.
Wow. I can't go that high. I'm not going to say this was not a bad show by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, it wasn't great, and some of the matches weren't great, but I think when almost one-third of your matches can be qualified as disappointment, that being Reigns, Psychosis, and Eddie and Benoit, like I said, that was almost a third of matches. It was only a 7-match show. The other ones, I mean, they delivered for what you pretty much wanted. When you saw Tanaka and Awesome, you expected hard hitting. You got that, and then some. You expected great technical wrestling with Storm and Jericho. You got that. You expected high-flying action with the Triple Threat. You got that. So almost everything else delivered, but I can't go 8.5 when you still have a decent percentage of your matches. Sure, yes, it's only 2 matches, but that's still, once again, 2 out of 7. Be disappointed. Granted, the crowd for this was amazing. The remembrance packages, you know, the trips down memory lane, those were great. You know, they were a lot of fun to watch. If you're watching it on the DVD version, I would, even though he's a gigantic a-hole, I would still recommend watching it with JBL's commentary. But watch the full show first, then watch it with JBL's commentary. And be mindful it's not safe for work and not safe for children. JBL made a lot of slurs towards just about everything. Some of the comments are incredibly awkward concerning the fact that Orlando Jordan is sitting next to him. So I have to wonder how he feels about that. But on the overall, I'm going to give the DVD and the show itself a 7.5. So I can't go as high as you did, because remember, we're talking cream of the crop when you're getting up 8.5, 9. But this was by no means a bad show. It's just 2 of those matches under-delivered to the point that I can't really go to an 8. I'll give it a 7.5.
I still feel top to bottom in regards to everything that happened on the show, and I don't just necessarily mean the in-ring content, because you have to factor in Heyman's promo. You have to factor in Van Dam's promo. You have to factor in the ending brawl with Taz's return to ECW to help save the day. I think that the nostalgia value bumps this show up into the upper echelon of shows that we've covered thus far.
All right, fair enough. Agree to disagree. We're still within a point of each other, so, at least I didn't give this a 4.
If you want the chance to check the show out for yourself, then pay attention to the show's sponsor, the Madhouse Toy Chest. Stores.ebay.com/Madhouse Toy Chest. You can find DVDs like this one and other original ECW content, as well as action figures, VHS tapes, video games, magazines, posters, and more by going into the Madhouse Toy Chest on eBay. Stores.ebay.com/Madhouse Toy Chest for all of your needs as a wrestling fan or as a fan of really any other form of entertainment.
Indeed. And yet again, next week, we are back to our later time slot. Yes, this is actually getting a little bit annoying. As Woo reacts to WWE, the history-making WWE Money in the Bank, featuring, of course, the 6-man ladder match for the Money in the Bank contract. The winner exchanges a title match anywhere they want, at any point, anytime, any place. But, however, for the first time ever, a 5-woman women's Money in the Bank ladder match. For the first time ever. I still think it ends with a Women's Royal Rumble next year, but that's not for a few months. So we move on to that after Talking Smack goes off the air after the pay-per-view. As far as 2 and 3 weeks from now, stay tuned to Facebook.com/Wrestling Unwrapped or on Twitter @WUOffTheShelf, as we're not 100% certain quite yet as to what we're going to do. And then July 9th, for the next Raw pay-per-view, I won't be there.
Also, make sure you keep your eye on W2Mnet.com as well for more of the written Wrestling Unwrapped reviews, as well as content from all of your W2M Network favorites, such as Sean Garmer, Paul Leeser, and Gary Vaughn.
Let's be honest here. Sean Garmer and Gary Vaughn.
I love Paul. You leave Paul alone.
Yes, I'm kidding, Paul.
The views and opinions of Patrick Ketza do not necessarily reflect those of Harry Broadhurst. Okay,
you don't like Paul?
Before we get out,
because I said I was kidding.
Before we get out of here, I want to point out the fact that this is how much guff I go through to do this show here. You realize that next Sunday is my and Christine's 1-year anniversary?
Is your what?
It's our 1-year anniversary next Sunday.
Oh, yeah. So we're not doing the show next week. Never mind what we mentioned earlier.
No, we are doing the show. It's just that that's how much I value our friendship, that where I'm actually going to take time away from my anniversary date with my girlfriend to do a pay-per-view recap with you. What the hell am I thinking?
I don't know.
I'm Harry Broadhurst.
And I'm Patrick Ketza. And, of course, for Sean Garmer as well. Thank you for joining us. This has been Wrestling Unwrapped, reviewing ECW One Night Stand 2005 here on the W2M Network. See you next week for Money in the Bank.
We think.
We think.
Good night, everyone.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.